What are you reading? Pretty thick book. Is it any good?
Oh yes, it is a very faithful, authentic and precise telling of the Indian rebellion against the rule of the British East India Company and of course Manikarnika Tambe, who became Lakshmi Bai, the Rani of Jhansi.
I'm intrigued. Is there a lot of fighting going on? You know, bloody battles, swashbuckling, sieges, big cannons. I love stuff like that.
Of course, the Indian rebellion contained a lot of battles, and in here you also get politics, military strategies, and you really get to know the people surrounding the queen. But the best thing about this book is that you get to know Rani the woman, you know, the person behind and beyond the queen.
I don't know, sounds kind of boring and way too detailed for me. I want something where I can lay back, turn off my brain, and let things just wash over me.
Well, then you should probably watch this new movie that just came out.
Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage.
And I'm Deniz the Buddymeister.
And we once again had a chance to watch a new release from India on the big screen.
Manikarnika, the Queen of Jhansi, is a Hindi-language biographical period drama that was written by Vijayendra Prasad and Prasun Joshi and directed by Krishna Jagarlamudi and Kangana Ranaut, who also plays Manikarnika, aka Rani Lakshmi Bai. This movie went through a pretty turbulent production, but we're going to talk about that later.
We don't want to beat around the bush here, but we sadly didn't like this movie very much. I think you liked it even less than me, but before you stop this video, give us a chance to explain ourselves.
Okay, this movie is about Manikarnika, who later becomes Lakshmi Bai, the Rani of Jhansi. So we start in 1828 with her birth, see her for a brief moment in her teens, and then get more or less to the heart of the movie, which is the Indian rebellion against the British East India Company in 1857 and 1858.
Manikarnika becomes Lakshmi Bai through the marriage with Raja Gangadhar Rao in 1842. In 1851 they get a son who unfortunately dies after 4 months. To get a new successor to the throne of Jhansi they adopt the son of Rayu's cousin. But after the death of the Raja, the British do not accept the little boy as an heir and annex Jhansi to their territory,
making Lakshmi Bai a mere bystander. She's also ordered to leave the palace and the fort. So everything that we've just said is in the movie. The facts, as long as you can call them that, are right, at least to some extent. I don't want to stress it either because there are also a lot of omissions made for dramatic and more so for patriotic purposes.
Manikarnika can be split into two main parts. One prior to the death of the Raja and one after the death. I think it's fair to say that the first part can be titled Love and the second part can be titled War. Because after the Raja's death, this movie becomes a slaughterfest.
Let me take up on the historical accuracy, because what Manikarnika certainly is not is a through and through authentic retelling of the life of Lakshmi Bai and the events of 1857 and 1858. Now I don't want to step on anyone's toes because, as I said earlier, some of the facts are right. But this movie treats history more like a lesson in primary school.
Yeah, it is superficial and it follows the textbook structure of an epic spectacle that is not really interested in telling us an insightful account of the Indian rebellion and more so telling us about who Manikarnika really was.
Well, according to this movie, she was a heroic superwoman who gives motivational speeches every 5 minutes, slaughters everyone who comes in her way and doesn't care about anything else than her country, not even her son.
A bit harsh, but this is a very patriotic and propagandistic movie. Not only in its narration, but also in its visuals and in its acting, and it really only tells what is necessary to satisfy the basic needs of an audience that wants to be entertained and nothing more.
I totally get that, but if you take such an important part of Indian history, why do you transform it into something so sketchy and by that even diminish it a bit? I wanted to get to know Lakshmi Bai and I also wanted to get to know more about the rebellion and all the people surrounding Lakshmi Bai. You're not destroying her legend by not making this a fantastical superhero movie.
I know, but you also have to take into account that this movie probably just doesn't want to be historically accurate. They even say at the beginning that they took liberties in retelling this story. And you saw the trailer. So what did you expect?
Manikarnika.
That's true, but I honestly believe that when a filmmaker decides to tell a story in this way, he or she's really only after the money. There's no interest in telling you something about the real history or the real people. Of course, it's like that everywhere in the world, be it Bollywood or Hollywood or European cinema, doesn't matter. People just eat it.
I totally see where you're coming from, and before you said that last sentence, I wanted to bring up Braveheart, which is in no way a historically accurate movie, but it still has human characters to root for, and above all is top-notch when it comes to the technical aspects. And those are unfortunately also not that great in Manikarnika either.
And it cost almost $18 million.
Yeah, I know. The editing is once again very choppy. The cinematography, although there are some great looking shots, is pretty bland, and the CGI, especially in the battle sequences, is not good, even for Bollywood standards.
But if it would just be for the big spectacle scenes, unfortunately the film looks and feels extremely cheap and sometimes downright amateurish in many normal, quieter moments as well.
It was very apparent that the filmmaking aspects were just mediocre at best. There are 3 people credited for cinematography, which is rather odd, and there are shots in the film that are quite horrible. To be honest, I would have assumed the budget was actually way lower than it really was. Oftentimes the film appeared more like a TV production or even a soap opera. The framing, the staging, where everyone was positioned and how the shots were edited was rather weak. Of course not all the time, and the song and dance sequences instantly conveyed a higher production value, but still it was a rather lackluster affair.
And as we mentioned at the beginning, they had some difficulties during the production that might or might not have something to do with that, and even the flawed narration and everything.
I read about those problems. They didn't have that much time left to finish the movie after principal photography was completed. They also had to replace actor Sonu Sood and therefore had to do reshoots. Director Krish also wanted to work on another movie simultaneously, couldn't do it and then left, and that's why Kangana Ranaut took over as director. According to some sources, she even reshot 50 to 70% of the movie.
There are a lot of rumors and accusations, and something like that is almost never good for a movie, and you can see stuff like that in the final product. I mean, look at the third Hobbit movie, but we have to talk about Kangana Ranaut, because she's the one who gets the most praise, even from people who didn't like the movie.
I thought she was alright. She definitely puts a lot of energy and power in the role, and she's probably the best thing about this movie, but especially in the second half, she doesn't do that much, does she?
Well, oftentimes she's just gazing with wide open eyes while giving some fiery speech, to be honest. But she still has a good presence on screen and she can be charming, but maybe there's even a bit too much focus on her in the movie. I know this movie's called Manikarnika, but still the people around her, Deniz Dezongpa's Gulam Gaus or Atul Kulkarni's Tatya Topi, for example, are underdeveloped, although they both played crucial roles in real life, which again shows that this movie's more about entertainment.
Yeah, this could also be a result of the troubled production. But we have to be fair, we at least got a glimpse into these big historical events and the people who took part in them back in the 19th century, superficial as they may be. And we also get the iconic picture of Lakshmi Bai with her son strapped on her back and jumping from the fort with her horse, and we get a nice feel of female empowerment with all these women fighting like hell. And the song and dance sequences were pretty good, even their production value.
That's true. In any case, everything was better than those laughable British actors.
Oh yes, I totally forgot about them. In fact, everybody should forget about them. Not only was the acting and direction too comical, the characters themselves, if you can even call them characters, were too. But 2 characters that I did in fact like a lot were the husband and wife Puran Singh and Jalkabai, played by Ankita Lokhande and Vaibhav Tadwarwadi. I found their chemistry and their interactions with our heroine more dynamic and simply more alive than what we got from many other people in the film. Unfortunately, their parts were rather small.
Well, overall, I just didn't like the movie. Besides all the things that we already said, I thought it was too long, the narrative was dragging, the villains were way too clunky and dealt with too fast. But that's just my opinion. Of course, people from India see this movie from another perspective, and with a lot of pride and honor for their own history, and I of course respect that.
I liked it a little bit more than you, but this movie simply wasn't for us.
So, in German we'd say?
Manikarnika, the Queen of Jhansi, hat viele Probleme und einige davon lassen sich mit Sicherheit auf die turbulente Produktion zurückführen. Unabhängig davon verlässt sich der Film aber auch etwas zu sehr auf Oberflächlichkeiten und verpasst es dabei, eine fesselnde und durchgehend interessante Geschichte zu erzählen. Leider macht er auch filmisch bis auf wenige Ausnahmen nicht viel her. I give Manikarnika 5 out of 10. It's more like 4.6, but I don't do that.
For me, it's 4 out of 10. It's more like 4.4, but I don't do that either.
So that's it for today and our review of Manikarnika, the Queen of Jhansi.
And tell us, what is your favorite historical movie from India?
Until then, you can hit me up on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram simply at the Jimmy Cage.
And you can hit me up simply at the Buddymeister.
And you know the drill, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like, and make sure you hit that bell for all we have to tell. I guess you were right, the movie wasn't that good. Give me that book.
Vor allem dein Kopfschütteln, immer dasselbe.